Welcome to the Biohacking Beauty Podcast, where we explore skin aging through cellular science and regenerative biology. In today's episode, I am joined by functional medicine practitioner Marina Moiseyeva to unpack skin detoxification, GLP-1s, and the deeper mechanisms that actually drives facial aging. We get into why certain topical treatments and medications increase detox demand, how sweating and lymphatic flow support skin longevity, why protein deficiency quietly accelerates aging, and how popular detox trends can backfire when they ignore basic biology. If you want to understand how the skin functions as an active detox organ and how muscle, bone, and protein loss shape changes often labeled as Ozempic face, this episode offers a clear, grounded framework to make sense of it. Marina is certified in anti-aging and regenerative medicine, a member of the American Academy for Anti-Aging Medicine, and the author of Harmonious Healing Blueprint, Biohacking, Regeneration, and Health Resilience. Let's dive in. All right, Marina, welcome to the Biohacking Beauty Podcast.
Thank you. Such a pleasure.
So we kind of started talking off air, and I said, you know what, we're going to save it for the podcast. So maybe, although it's a rarity, let's start with talking about how you've gotten to where you're at. Like, how did you get interested in health and skin health specifically?
Yeah. So I am being in integrative, regenerative, anti-aging medicine, functional medicine, and nutritional aspect of it for over 16 years. But truly what gave me an interest in it is my personal skin concerns are so, I actually had a skin concerns since teenager. But at that point, it's obvious everybody has it. And then I had like terrible sunburn, which also had to kind of take care of. And again, my grandma was doing natural herbal kind of like elixirs and different like type of teas to put on the face. Then it developed terrible rosacea. So, and then when at 18, I came to US, and even though at that point my skin was pretty good, I started a new cycle of skin concerns, and they were terrible. I would say the worst of all the combination I had in my early years. And I was like puzzled. I knew I'm not like already at puberty, and I didn't really change anything. Everything was just great. And I couldn't understand why all of a sudden I have the worst skin ever. Wow. And it got me to really think, after literally being in the US for a few months, I was like, what did I do differently? I wasn't really eating a huge, big difference of a diet change. But overall, then after analyzing this, I realized there's something else. And it was definitely the sugar, right? The sugar that was like different. And overall, the food was different, having different effects. And that's how I started treating myself, because I was going to the best dermatologists. I went to so many of them, and it was not getting anywhere. It was just getting drier and redder. It just was actually super not helpful. And when I was kind of searching and was trying to play with my diet, and literally this is how I got into actually how nutrition affects how our bodies work and how our skin looks. And that's pretty much how, from my personal interest, I was basically then, because I was already going through nursing school, and I was figuring out that just besides my skin, I see other patients who are literally were just recommended for blood pressure, let's say blood pressure medications or cholesterol pills, or just literally just take a pill. And I was like, I'm sure for every single kind of like condition, right, you can have a good kind of aspect of it, you can treat or definitely improve and probably cure with their nutritional kind of aspect, right? So, and overall, the dream of my life was really in those early years is really if I ever were able to go makeup free, like seriously, right? And that's literally amazes me these days, that even though at 40, which I'm right now, right, typically people start like doing things to cover up the skin. I'm actually going naked, So that's awesome. And this is literally how much this whole nutritional and all the aspects of how you can heal yourself and what you do to your kind of body can affect And again, you cannot deny that skin is literally the biggest organ, and it's really your mirror of what's happening in your body.
Yeah. And a lot of people don't consider the fact that whether you're applying something on your skin for an acute, condition, like to treat something specific, or you are taking any kind of medication, anything that really kind of is being taken as a solution for a specific subject, you are, almost as a rule, you are increasing the demand on detoxification as a whole in the body.
In terms of
Yeah.
any topical thing you would do for your skin, for even if you get results, as you said, it kind of puts your body in a kind of harder mode and more things to detox. I mean, I totally agree, because I would say the best things in terms of that, what works, definitely, typically people prescribe some type of steroid or some type of even immunotherapy related skin care by dermatologist, which is definitely goes way beyond your skin. And especially when it comes to steroids, they do have anyway, but even though light, but in kind of systemic effect. So it does definitely increases the load on your body, and overall you're gonna deal with other things. And plus, it's definitely only a Band-Aid treatment type. Or so you never.
No, but even if it helps. Even if it helps,
even if it helps, it's really kind of just works for now, and you never really get to the core of it. So I do see a lot of patients who have psoriasis, eczema, seborrheic dermatitis, and literally, even though they are happy with the treatment by dermatologists frequently, actively, continuously using the cream, they do not understand. It was a clue, it was a hint, it was a signal from the body to really look deeper, not just cover it up. So it could be the only symptom, Sometimes you're surprised. Let's say people eat a lot of sugar, people just overall overeat, or just have a bad diet. They might have no diabetes, they might have no extra weight, no other blood work, actually, things that are kind of looking suspicious, but they could be the skin where you show the things. Let's say you get pigmentation, you get redness, you just overall, it looks a little kind of like citrus-like texture, right? So it could be skin is the only organ that shows off in terms of the actual symptoms.
And it can even go beyond that, meaning even if you're on SSRIs, right? If you are on any type of again, medication or any type of support to a specific organ, at the end of the day, there is a higher demand on detoxification. And that, by the way, is shared by your skin. It's not necessarily only by your skin, whatever it is, liver, kidneys, your detoxification system now needs to work harder, and these things accumulate, and you need to make sure that you are detoxing well, that you have the ability to detoxify from your skin as well, that you're supporting that, or else you are going to develop things, or even just early onset of skin aging, for that matter, because you are not supporting the skin as a detoxification organ.
Correct.
Yeah. So what do you think is the biggest mistakes people make when they try to detoxify their skin, or they're not supporting skin detoxification?
I would say skipping hydration and sweating as the biggest detox kind of overall organ system, and they're just how it works. It really covers so much more than you can do with other things. If you do not have your detoxification pathways open, and again, if you want to just support their fundamental stuff, you need to make sure you're well hydrated. And sweating is honestly one of the most efficient way to detox, right? So, but if you can really detox through the skin well, even if you sweat, but if you're not drinking, it's just going to be stagnant system. So, and again, sweating, ideally, you want to do some type of physical activity. You can do just some type of lymphatic drainage. You can even just do jumping jacks, but it's really something that's just going to make you sweat. But if you cannot really sweat efficiently because you're not drinking sufficiently, that's going to be not efficient.
Yeah, you're touching on a couple of good points here. The first is sweating as a whole is a way to detoxify, right? But you also, mentioned lymphatic drainage and jumping. So this is something I think a lot of people don't realize, that in order to support their lymphatic system, they can do some kind of, I would say, on and off G-force type things. It could be if you have a huge swing in the house, it could be good, but mainly jumping up and down, right? Like
Right.
trampoline or jumping. Yeah.
That you cannot really make an excuse not to do it. Yes, because let's say when it comes to lymphatic system, the trouble with that is compared to cardiovascular, flow of the fluids when we have a pump as a heart, right? Lymphatics are totally dependent on our movement. So it gets really stagnant and stuck if we are not providing, and just kind of the easiest way is like little trampoline or literally just jumping jack, something that's actually jumping. That's the easiest way to activate it. I mean, people do a lot of there's different equipment right now. So you can just go for therapy for a session where they do a nice, very deep lymphatic massage. But if if the matter of money or time, this is literally very efficient and just free. It's like
and I think the one that encompasses both, obviously, as you mentioned, sweating and lymphatic, obviously, is working out. So the lymphatic system is built to be pumped by our muscles when they're moving. Obviously, sweating when we're moving. So these two things do indeed work very well together. I mean, the face, you might need to work a little bit extra to massage the face to help lymphatic, or vibrate your hands around your face. I've seen people who are into facial massage doing some kind of light vibration with their hands. But these things are definitely, free and easy to do.
Right.
Yeah. So we've started this conversation talking about nutrition. Where do you see most people that come to you? How is their nutrition? Is it because they come to you, they're already people who are very aware of healthy nutrition? Or do you feel like most people have the idea or the awareness that they should eat healthy, but they really have a hard time understanding what that means?
I mean, I do have honestly a range of where people are at their relationship with nutrition and food. Partially, these days there's so much information. So most by now, comparing to let's say 15 years ago when I was just early in my practice, some people really had no idea that what you eat would impact your health. In fact, I was surprised, what people are totally clueless that, eating burgers and drinking Coke is bad, right? Right now, I don't really have people who totally have no idea that this is not great for your health. But still, some people keep doing it because of their, I would say, life strains in terms of very hectic lifestyle and family, or a lot of demand, and it's just easier, convenient. Sometimes they understand they're doing bad thing for their body, but it's just how to break the cycle or what to do, what kind of seems to be very convenient, and just what you're doing, right? So at this point, it's just to help them slowly but surely change the habits, so it becomes an easy habit change, right? So kind of, or switch to something that's kind of gives them the same effect in terms of, let's say somebody who still relies on soda even here and there, right? So what exactly they want from it? Or is it literally they want the caffeine, or they want their bubbles, or they want their sugar part of it, right? So you can find a lot of healthy alternative, even in a can. Let's say even in a can, you can do it even probiotics, kind of fermented tea, but it's a totally game changer in terms of the effect versus truly high fructose corn syrup based Coke, right? Or even Diet Coke. It's still obviously very toxic and very terrible for the skin, even though in a lab this aspartame would show zero effect, it's zero sugar, but it doesn't work the same in the body. So this doesn't end up in real life, even though overall the idea of the sugar effect should be not happening.
Yeah, it's very smart what you just said, because we really are bad as human beings. And even if someone is right now listening to us and they're like, hey, I haven't had a Coke in to 15 years and my nutrition is on point, they could look at other parts of their lives. It's extremely difficult for us to understand the effects of incremental decision making. So it's just, every time you reach that decision, you're in front of that, pie or something. It's just another pie. It's not the story of the accumulation of all the pies you've eaten before and all the ones that you're going to eat after. So what you're saying, where the habit should be built slowly and with providing alternatives.
Yes.
That's a game changer, and that's something that everyone can really apply. I think some of it is making sure that the alternatives are available at the point of decision, that it's not a harder decision to make from an energy expenditure point, right? Like if I have Zevia or whatever, or a probiotic drink, whatever they're called, like a kombucha in the fridge, then it's an easy decision to make. If I now need to, cross the street or whatever to buy something else and I have Coke in the fridge, it's a harder decision to make, right?
Yeah, that's why it really, in terms of lifestyle overview, it takes the biggest part of the session with me and my patient, because it's really, I can create a perfect regimen, right? Or just kind of standard guidelines, standard recommendations, but it's not really working, right? So I need to understand where they are, what's their circumstances. And even though it might be minor change, I know it's going to have a really long-term amazing effects. It's not going to be, let's say, 3 pounds down in a week, but it's overall going to make them feel better. And if they keep doing this change for 30 years, that's going to be just saving their life at some point, So yeah, it's really meeting where the patient is at, not where I want them to be perfectly at. Let's say if somebody's really literally eating burgers and drinking Coke, like I'm not telling them to go to Whole Foods and cook at home, it's just not happening. So it's really to see where is that little change is going to make a big effect long term. And it's something that sounds super feasible. It doesn't sound like a stretch. And then when they feel it's actually not so hard and it's doable and they keep up. So between our sessions, I just want to make sure they feel like they're not a failure, right? Because if I give, even though obviously the best plan, recommendation, nutrition, and lifestyle, but I know that it's not achievable, not reasonable, not possible, they're just going to completely F it because it's just not realistic,
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So the flip side of that is that in today's world, it's becoming increasingly difficult, especially if someone is also taking the route, especially if someone's taking the route of weight loss injections. It's becoming extremely difficult to actually get all the nutrients that you need through food. Again, especially if someone is on a weight loss injection, which actually makes it so they derive less nutrients from the food that they're eating. What is your general, or how do you view IVs as an adjunct to filling in deficiencies?
IVs are obviously would do amazing here when it comes to nutrients, right? For people, as we mentioned now, a big chunk of population, I think it's actually by statistics, 30% of population either tried it or doing it right now. And I think actually is going to get even higher because, with coming out of more safer ones and overall with so much data actually in its favor, even though how much I was originally when it was coming out against it, I'm also now in many cases, not many, but I would be open and sometimes even recommending it because depends on where they are. It sometimes really gives a push and really saves literally life, because if somebody already has a list of medications or literally, have a bunch of conditions that are chronic and they are because of the weight, or they literally have a cardiovascular concerns, it definitely can speedily get us in a better state and not to keep damaging your body. Because unfortunately, let's say sugar or high blood pressure, it's damaging your vessels and damaging your kidneys and damaging every single organ and system. So you want to kind of honestly just get rid of this internal fire and then kind of teach them along the way how to do it long-term lifestyle. So it just depends where people are. And in terms of IVs, are definitely nutrient-wise, you can cover it a lot, right? So first of all, I definitely advise when people are getting on those shots, sometimes, and frequently it's just prescribed by a regular traditional endocrinologist, and everybody's happy, but nobody really checks in, and nobody really does an extensive nutrient and mineral analysis, right? So you don't know what's going on. Your sugar's getting better, you overall feel good, but then something starts getting off, let's say 2 years down the line, right? Because now a lot of people do just keep taking them. So really you need to work with somebody who can run your very comprehensive nutrient profile, because even let's say if you're smart and you're doing multivitamin, right? You don't know exactly what you kind of getting accumulated. And plus even the fact that even if you take multivitamin on their GLP-1 shots, right, you're still risking not absorbing it well, because that's the problem. You might be getting it, but there is definitely been a study, even let's say birth control and GLP-1 combination, people get pregnant because you're not getting, it just does not get absorbed the same way. So you're probably, even if you thought you're covering, you could be slacking big time. So in terms of, IVs, nutritionally, from the standpoint of vitamins and nutrients, perfect. Yes, get your levels checked and get nutrients even on a monthly basis, And this is even, some people who do not take injections, they might be just having trouble with their digestion and absorption, even without the shots. But the only thing that you cannot really do as good with their infusions is protein.
Yeah, correct.
And that's it. And sometimes people would say, Ozempic face, but in reality, it's really... People say, oh, something happened to my skin because of the shots. But in reality, because again, if you lose fat, you're not even losing muscle, it will give your face a different look, right?
Yeah.
And especially when people, even men, lose a lot of fat, they're going to look older, not because, men who are overweight, they already kind of really produce estrogen from this excessive fat. And estrogen is amazing in terms of collagen boost and in terms of overall skin glowing and being better. So this is another aspect why skin looks so much worse if they lose weight, because it's so many things. Estrogen going down, because
testosterone too. Testosterone is great for skin thickness too. But there's another. I think there is a little bit of a silver lining here, really, because as you said, most people that are going to take GLPs or whatever version of skinny shot we're going to have in the future haven't taken it yet, right?
No.
Oh, I mean, like the future is really. That's stupid to say, but the future is in front of us, right? So here is the issue with, so I'm actually thinking that it's fortunate that one of the first discussions around the visible effect, the negative visible effects of GLPs or weight loss injections are what we call Ozempic face, Ozempic butt, Ozempic belly, whatever that is. And why is that? It's because these are short-term changes that we know how to tackle. We can tell you, hey, lift weights, eat more protein, you're going to be fine. For the most part, obviously, weight loss, what comes with it is definitely changing of volume. But long-term, when we're going to see people either microdosing or full-on, taking weight loss injections, we're going to start to get to the point where we're going to get bone loss and obviously muscle loss as well. And that's where the real problem lies, because bone is, especially in the face, especially, it's so difficult to remineralize. It's so difficult to kind of re-densify the bone. And we know it from people that have anything from tooth decay to people who have deficiencies growing older.
All right.
That is where what the future holds if we don't correct the way we approach nutrition and nutrient replenishment during those what really are absorption limiting injections. That's what they are.
Right.
So yeah, I mean, I think it's it's a good discussion to have now in the beginning. In business, you say you should have things kind of hammered down in the beginning when there is no money on the table, because with more money come everything is more grave in its decision. And the same thing here. It's good to start the discussion now when people are not happy with maybe some deeper lines or a little bit droopier face before we're talking about serious conditions that also affect how you look.
Just having, I think, an honest conversation in terms of like really advantages and disadvantages and long-term effects, just kind of saying if you really just want to give it a kind of jump start and then we gonna clean up your nutrition, because it's kind of also, I would say, easier to really, especially I'm talking about more like extreme versions when people like really not eating regularly, just overall the diet anyway, poorer, like no much of nutrients anyway, and they have trouble, especially with portions. It's just so much easier to give them to eat proper because overall the appetite is lower, right?
Yeah.
So it's a good time to actually, it's easier on them to change the lifestyle, right?
Yeah.
But at the same time to kind of save time and to prevent further damage. So, but overall, I would say, because all this obviously is you see microdose in a point of bone density, which is the worst effect, which is again pretty much non-reversible in terms of how your face changes and you're going to think what's actually happened. But that's why women in menopause, this is such a big difference 4 or 5 years after stopping of cycle, because loss of collagen on top of their already like osteopenia, osteoporosis, like their bone density loss because of also hormonal changes alone. And if you add up on that, actually the shots is definitely going to be super pronounced, and it's extremely hard to reverse. I would say it's almost impossible.
It's impossible, and it is. I think to say it's an uphill battle is, even if it's possible, it is so much harder than kind of the maintenance. Yeah.
If you prevent it or just kind of do consciously. That's why in general, I especially really feel terrible for people who go for those shots. And let's say, it's a bunch of people who would just get it illegally, or because the friend doing it, they just have leftovers, or just like, I mean, you can imagine people just get it here and there without even doctor being a part of it, or because they can have access, or now you can actually buy it online without having a license.
But first of all, I think I don't know how it's gonna go, but there's gonna be a lot of back and forth. There's gonna be a lot of like regulation loopholes, because there's so much money to be made.
Right.
Regulation loopholes. Even we saw it with semaglutide in the beginning. There was just a shortage, so the FDA was like, hey, people can compound it in pharmacies, they can do it. Then there wasn't a shortage, you can't do that anymore. But as science progresses, I think we're going to see this back and forth with those, what we call anoretic or appetite reducing drugs, right? Which do make dieting more sustainable. I mean, like, we talked about sugar. It improves glucose regulation, which even, improves your relationship with sugar. So if that's something that you need to fix, in air quotes, you could have an easier time fixing it when you don't have a crazy craving. Inflammation, especially inflammation in the brain, we know through studies it impairs your decision making. If you have an easier time, because GLP-GIPs, what I mentioned, those skinny shots, they reduce inflammation. Less inflammation in the brain, you can make better decisions. Better decisions lead to better habits, which lead to easier decisions. So again, like I think there is a lot there in the pro camp, but we it's almost like you never can have a free ride. There is always work to be done. We've seen it, by the way, even with people who are going vegan, right? Which is the last decade's fad, maybe.
All right.
Go vegan, you're going to be fine. But people, what happened? You had these monsters, these Frankensteins like Beyond Meat or whatever, right? I'm sure there are many. As you can see, it wasn't the fad that I subscribe to. However, you've had all of these replacements. My brother still eats seitan every day, which is basically gluten. So what you've had is people that are trying to keep the same simple, I'll order something from Kentucky Fried Chicken type lifestyle, but now vegan. There's no free ride. You always have, it's always the work volume that you need to apply. It almost stays equal. Now that the question is like, what is right for you, and what do you want to subscribe to as far as your like belief system? I feel like almost.
Yeah, I just want to kind of clarify because you were mentioning like skinny shot, just so for people who truly know the skinny shots, because in our actual medical world, there is a skinny shot, which is not GLP-1.
Okay.
So those are actually good ones. Those
okay, to be honest, I
just
invented that term right now. I didn't think about it.
Yeah, so basically you're like confusing me because skinny shot, there is a name of officially kind of like skinny shot. It's basically a mix of a few B vitamins and a few amino acids, which is good because that's literally B1, B6, B5, B12, and if the 4 amino acids, inositol, methionine, L-carnitine, which are actually just naturally support your system to affect your satiety, your overall fat burning capabilities, and like overall they are skinny shots by the actual official name, but they are not related to peptides and hormones, right? So but you were referring pretty much to this kind of GLP-1 generation, third generation kind of group category, right? So yeah, in terms of their when it comes to the GLP-1s, obviously, as I said, it's going to be like a back and forth. And the fact that you said about better decision making, there is a lot of studies. And again, also, I see it a lot in my practice when it actually makes sense. It really saves a lot of health concerns and improves health in general when people have different type of addiction, right?
Yeah.
Because it's definitely been amazing. When I saw it first with my patients, I was like thinking it's just a kind of a coincidence, right? Let's say people who've been drinking alcohol, right? More than they would need or overall. These days, it's kind of based on research. There's no amount of alcohol that's for brain-wise, even a little bit alcohol seems to be affecting our brain health, right? Because before it was kind of a debatable, and it was a like moderate and probably Pinot Noir or Cabernet Sauvignon. You can do a couple of glasses a week for the kind of actually antioxidant effects of resveratrol. Lately, the more research we see, it seems to be, I don't know if the wine has changed, or in general, it seems to be there's no kind of basically alcohol serving that would be actually health protective or health kind of like promoting, right? So it seems to be like we're down with alcohol part. And in general, again, their GLP kind of whatever, second, first generation, a third, they've been really helpful for people who are, besides sugar addicts, literally addicted to any substances, literally even smoking, like weed, you name it. And even they say with addictive behaviors, in terms of people who are shopping excessively or people who are gambling, this is like totally, I think, really interesting. And again, that's also sometimes it makes sense to use if that's really screwing up your life.
Yes. There is much to talk about here. There's also ways to, obviously, it's annoying to say what studies do. They tack on other drugs, right? That's what happened. It's not like it's very difficult to find like a pool of studies which explored having a solid weightlifting and protein intake routine prior to GLP-1. Like, it's going to be so difficult, understandably, going to be so difficult to source people who are going to be good candidates for, like, on a large scale, like 300 people that are going to say, hey, I also want to subscribe to the study where I lose weight, but also let me have a good weightlifting routine 2 to 4 times a week beforehand. So it's understandable. However, I would say that there are studies showing that that there is one specific one called the Regeneration primate study, where they had GLP-1s and dual myostatin activin inhibition, which is like things that make you grow muscle, basically. And that showed that you could have a lot of the benefits of GLP-1s without the adverse effects of Ozempic phase, for that matter. Mm-hmm. Having said that, I think it's missing the point of the work that needs to be done in lifestyle. In my takeaways, like, if someone asked me, and I would like to hear your opinion about that. If someone asked me, hey, I'm starting this GLP journey, right? And I'm so tempted to call it skinny shot again, because I just made up this term, but it's not. Okay, but I'm starting this this journey. What should I do to preserve my facial contouring, or whatever that is, right? So I would say, first of all, strength training 2 to 4 times a week, high protein, high intensity and volume to basically build muscle, but you could think of it as preserving muscle at that point, and really use the GLPs as appetite suppression rather than something
to totally rely on.
Yeah.
Well, so I would add, in terms of the protein, it gets a little tricky because, as you said, even let's say if they use just the minimal that gives them a little help and the rest is just easier to get into their healthier lifestyle. In terms of protein, let's say if you take about food, shakes or amino acids, right? Like because again, IV wise, you will not be able to do as many to keep it good, because you need it on a daily basis, a solid amount. So you cannot count to amino acid IV every day. Every even week. So I would say, adding to in terms of exercise, protein wise, let's say food wise, make sure I would even usually give enzymes, plant-based enzymes, or even it could be as easy as artichoke, and just something that naturally, or digestive bitters, just something that naturally can help you digest it quicker and better. So if you rely solely on the actual food, like eggs and meat, if you do not do any supplemental protein, that's easier to digest, right?
Yes.
Because that's, even if you have it perfect, it's going to be hard, it's going to be slow, and overall, that's why a lot of people start feeling nauseous, because the food's sitting there for hours. I have a patient recently, she didn't mention to her GI doctor she's doing GLP-1. She went to the upper endoscopy and she ate last time 6 p.m. And she had endoscopy at 12 p.m. It's been pretty much 18 hours. And he was like, oh my God, I don't know what's going on, because you had stomach full of food. Wow. 18 hours later. And she could have died because she would choke. You're not supposed to have food even like 6 hours on top, or like even 4 hours, kind of, it should be going down. So that gave her actually a realization. And this is how it was easier for me to now convince her to get off, because she was in it for a couple of years, right? And she stopped right after. And she's been keeping this weight. It's been already 2 years, kind of like for a while. But that's kind of, people don't understand that even if the system was fine before, you really are changing so many things. The point of medication, as you said, you're always going to get other things you're not subscribed to, Because when it comes to, let's say, any other even natural things, let's say, are supplements, let's say you take green tea extract for fat burning capabilities, you also getting, in addition, like antioxidant properties, you getting other things you didn't subscribe, but they are positive, right?
Yeah.
When you do subscribe, basically start doing anything prescription, you're getting something you intended kind of good for you, but you're getting things that you are not willing and interested in.
Yeah.
And this is inevitable because it's just you close one pathway, and our body is just so complicated. It's not just one thing covers and addresses this. You're getting so many chains of reaction impacted that you are really changing the whole body, how it works,
Yes.
how it functions, even though it seems
I
to be
agree.
one peptide,
Yeah. First of all, another way to look at it is, starting small, there is a lot of longevity modalities, a lot of longevity ingredients, supplements, whatever, that work really well on very simple organisms. And once you become more complex, whether it is animals, humans, they stop working. Why am I bringing this up? Why? It's because it's to contrast that with something that indeed does drive results, not necessarily longevity, but results. It inevitably drives many different processes in a complex organism. And a lot of them we are not aware of years into the journey with that specific, for better or for worse, by the way. I think, GLPs are going to be in the future looked at as a type of longevity modality to a certain extent. But yeah, one thing I would mention, because you mentioned endoscopy, and that's something I've never thought even to talk about, but if you are going to go to do any type of cosmetic procedure, whether it is laser or microneedling, or whether it is plastic surgery, it's really not smart or not ideal to be on GLPs.
Yeah,
it's just not ideal. Not only because the fasted aspect, but also because you are creating stimulation to which the body responds by healing, and
right.
for that you need nutrients, right?
Right.
Do you have protocols? Kind of going off GLPs. There's so much to do there. Just I'm going to mention, if someone wants to look into kind of what I said about how to not lose muscle. I would look at, just Google something called GDF8/actin A plus GLP-1. This is the study I mentioned before. It's very interesting, and I think it's going to be kind of the stack of the future. Having said that, so do you have a protocol for people who are kind of coming to you and say, you know what, Marina, I just got divorced, or I have a wedding in 8 months, or fill in the blank, I've, that's it, the kids left the house, whatever that is, now it's my time. I'm taking this on. I want to look my best, and I'm going to do a bunch of things. How do you communicate with them? Do you just tell them, hey, you should be really healthy for that? Or do you have a protocol where you're saying, okay, let's dial up everything to the highest it can be, as far as like, as far as like how your cells function, youthfulness in the body? How do you view it? How do you communicate it? What's your approach there?
I mean, it's very personalized because I need to understand and do baseline workup in terms of body composition, so we know where we started. And then typically, if somebody really wants to go this route with GLP-1 or any of those generation of those peptides for appetite suppression and sugar control, they are on at least monthly body composition that checks fat, water content, bone density, and just fat. Because again, when they do it with me, I do not even have people who would lose muscle, let's say I see them spiking, I'm like, I'm not prescribing you, I'm not giving you, or I'm not like doing this if you are not keeping up your muscle, right? So like that's why they have to be mandatory monthly for weight checking, so we can see what they're losing, if we need to up the diet in terms of protein, or again, it could be shortcuts. As I said, like if somebody just wants to do food, we do the food, just add the digestive natural kind of support so they can actually digest it better. So besides that it's gonna give them side effects, they're just gonna actually get the nutrients, get those amino acids from the food, and not just feel kind of like full all the time. And then if somebody I see cannot, because frequently, even if somebody has best intentions to eat enough, they just can't feed it because it just feels like they're gonna throw up, right? Or just I cannot. So they say, I'm sorry, I'm not hungry, I don't know, I'm not gonna do it, right? So another one is just quality protein shakes, but it's a little tricky here because if you've seen, there's a lot, even the best organic shakes coming up is contaminants with levels of toxins that are like totally not great. They're like really health risks. So it's a little tricky with this one. I mean, typically if I recommend the one that protein shakes by professional companies, not, whatever you can buy on Amazon, is somebody who created, and doctors of functional medicine who are behind it. And those are usually, hopefully are the cleanest and the best. And if anything, I would say honestly, in terms of protocol, everybody goes on amino acids on GLP-1, everybody. It's just a matter of how much more food or shakes we need. But amino acids, it depends on how many servings, because those are something you do not have to break down. You don't have to worry. It's ready to use. And I really use the cleanest one, the one that doesn't load your liver or kidney, and it's 0 calories. So you kind of really getting this whole thing for their basically muscle support, right? But without adding calories or something to digest. But it's tricking the system because you're getting the nutrients. Because how many times people would eat 2,000 calories but get 0 nutrients, right? It's not about really, we need some calories obviously, but it's more about the nutrients we are meant to get from the food. So amino acids are really the way that everybody on. In just the matter of servings they would have to do, depends on how the body composition changes when they do those monthly check-ins.
Yeah. By the way, you've just triggered something that I've been on personally. And did you hear about the new kind of the new information about creatine made in China?
Yeah.
First of all, here's the journey that so basically there is information starting to kind of come out there that basically there's obviously less regulation in China, and most companies, like even very big companies, source their creatine from China. And there's a study that came out that that it's not peer reviewed, but there is a study that came out that tested Chinese-made creatine, and it had 18,000 ppm of a compound called DCD, or diamide. I don't remember how to say it, but this is basically like it's an impurity of it's basically a heavy metal associated with really bad health effects, brain effects, etc. Proven to cause harm. Another one is DHT, dihydrotriazine. I think these were the two most dangerous compounds there were there, but a bunch of heavy metals, things like that. And then there was recommended, there is basically two companies, Creapure and another one where they're made in Germany, something, people can Google it, where they don't have these impurities. But then I looked at companies that actually use those German suppliers, and they're almost non-existent. I tried to find out where Thorne sources their creatine. They don't want to tell you. So, I mean,
You tried? Because I take mine from Thorn, and I do have in my practice Thorn creatine because it seems to be an overall like a pure one. But I'll try
Right?
some of them. I don't know.
I know, me too. That's what I take. Just to be fair, that's what I take right now. I take Thorn creatine,
Yeah.
but the thing is that I mean something
I mean,
to
it's an issue overall. Obviously, with all their kind of abundance of
hmm
their now supplements, right? And information, right? That's why, again, even though originally, let's say years ago when I was early in my practice, like almost, 16 years ago, it was really, I was explaining people and they were like, what are you talking about? I never heard of it. They would kind of like thought they were kind of like an experiment, right?
hmm
But right now creatine, which was typically, again, more like guys and who are like really trying to kind of lift heavy.
yeah,
Now I'm saying, no, it's actually for women. It's actually for brain. It's actually totally
yeah,
not what you think it is for. So now it's people like, come to me. Can I take it? Should I take it? So it's different. And they get it and they come to me and give me their pictures of the things they have in the home. Sometimes they have a cabinet full of things. I'm like, why in the world you would put it all together, right? So it's really kind of the other side of their problem when it's actually we have so much and we are just sometimes putting ourselves in the self-created protocols, which alone could be dangerous. Plus, again, not all supplements created equal. I mean, in our case, like yours and mine, like, you overall get what you think so far anyway is the best.
hmm
This already fails us, right? So definitely everything else is just not even talkable,
yeah,
right? So again, do your best basically, but overall in all other ways, we should understand we always and all of us have so many things in terms of toxins totally out of control. So that's when every day you should be doing something to detox yourself
yeah.
every day, because it's just in our modern world we are exposed to so many different things that are not even like known yet to be a toxin, let's say, right? So it's just really detox is one of the things that should be part of your whatever
Yeah.
protocol you're doing.
So listen, this is it's a great conversation, and to be honest, we can go for hours. However, shout out to Chelsea, the producer. She made some rapid fire questions for us.
Okay.
So I want to make sure we go through them, but it does connect to what you just said. I'll even make one before we get to hers. What is a detox type solution, treatment, whatever you want to call it, a fad that you wished people stayed away from? Maybe it's dangerous. Maybe it's just fake and taking advantage of people.
I mean, it's a tricky one. I would say doing detox just by juicing, right?
Mm,
So, I mean, there is a part of it that's good, but overall, you need protein to detox, right? You cannot detox juices for 2 weeks, and it impairs your detoxification process.
mhm.
So, you can do it here and there. You can do just better to do green juice part of your daily detox routine, right? But not to do lengthy green juice detoxification plans, because
Nice.
overall you're not really helping. Again, little, I would say at the most 5 days,
Yeah.
of the just kind of the green juice or smoothie stuff. It means, because some people would go for it and not have a protein of
Yeah.
any kind.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. Yeah. That's true. They're that's so true. Okay. What's one thing that's aging your skin faster than the sun, and you don't even know it's in your home? Well, that's a detailed rapid fire there. Okay. What is?
I would say, it's in your home, it's the sugar, right?
Yeah.
Nothing really inflames and deteriorates collagen production and overall affects your,
100%.
it's because, it's just meta inflammation and everything.
Amen. Okay. What's one, in air quotes, clean beauty product people swear by that actually blocks detox?
Mm.
I need to think about that too. I don't know.
Blocks detox. Not sure.
Yeah, I don't know about blocks detox. Obviously, I hate skin applied ascorbic acid as opposed to other vitamin C's.
Right.
So I'll give that as an example, but I don't know about blocks detox.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm sorry.
Okay, that's fine. Next. If someone's using retinol but not addressing inflammation, what's actually happening to their skin?
I mean, overall, you just aggravating whatever is going on
Yes.
because it just makes the whole
Yeah.
inflammation times 10.
Yes. Okay, what's on one IV therapy ingredient that gives skin glow without anything else? I changed that question a
I
little
would
bit.
definitely say glutathione.
Okay, glutathione, yeah.
is the huge one. I mean, I remember originally I didn't realize until I had people doing chelation therapy, like removing the toxin, and usually glutathione is a big part of it. And the patient was saying, like, what are we doing for my skin? I'm like, nothing. She's like, no, we're doing something. My skin never been so good. And then I figured, and then obviously there's been more studies. And so glutathione is the go-to for support because it's our really powerhouse in the best defense mechanism for inflammation, oxidation, and mitochondrial support. So, I mean, no wonder, but it's always the safest, the quickest, and always works like a magic. Right?
Love it. Okay, what's the most expensive skincare mistake you see in your clinic every single week?
Is first of all, are skipping their home care routine, because let's say people go for crazy, literally amazing treatments. They spend thousands of dollars and they think that's pretty much it, right? But it's what you do beyond that is actually gonna either make it effective like 20% or 200%. So definitely home care is the core of it. And if anything, addressing obviously also internal state, but home care, it's all of it.
So funny story, when I was extremely young, when I was, 20 years old, I dated a famous model. And that's the end of the story. No, I'm kidding. I dated a famous model that ate very poorly and would go constantly to do liposuction. And she was also 20. I mean, I don't know how old she was. I don't remember. Maybe she was 19, maybe 21.
Yeah, let's see. But
So this is like, to me, the most unhealthy example, right? It's insane that there is this paradigm that we can go and kind of hardcore treat something, and then we're allowed to go ahead and, basically live off of donuts or something like that.
No, but that's actually, I mean, very extreme. But besides the fact that it's a really like quick fix, but it's very hard on your body. You're gonna take so long to recover. Plus, beyond even anesthesia itself, that damages your brain. It's like proven, right? It's overall like such a kind of process to what's involved in liposuction. It's their intervention. It's your body is really it's really aging you. Just alone, any surgery ages you big time.
100%. Spoiler alert, she does not look good now, by the way. Okay. What is okay, fantastic. I love that answer. What's one lab marker that predicts skin aging before fine lines show up?
I mean, I would say no one. If I would have to pick, let's say 3, right? CRP. CRP is inflammation marker, right?
Yes.
And A1C, I mean, the sugar. And the third one, I would say, would be DHEA, right? DHEA, which is more hormones. And if again, the levels are lower than for age, it's age specific, right? So we have specific good kind of optimal numbers for every 5, pretty much at least 10 kind of decade of the age. So that definitely means overall our hormonal health is actually slacking, and it would affect again, because you said testosterone definitely going to be affected if DHA is low, and overall for women is going to be just in general like speedy aging.
Love it.
But what's one? If you have, let's say, access to like more advanced tests, there is like true diagnostic, true age test when you can actually check. It's not one marker; it's like 200 markers, but it's more giving you actually how your skin ages.
Fun story about true diagnostic. And what we do, so we almost got in bed with True Diagnostic because we've developed a metabolomics test. We did it with a company called Theriome. Their metabolomics test is called shout out to Therium, their metabolome test is called Aristotle. And we've developed a test with them to check metabolomes that are related to skin aging, and obviously how we change them with topicals, with supplements, things like that. But yeah, that's coming. That's, if you want to spend $900, $1,000 to check what you can do to improve your skin, there are those things too, right?
No, but actually, this is a good idea. I would love if you guys would provide, let's say, baseline skin age test. I don't know how to check like the scrap of it. I don't know what would be the way, right? And then you'd use your products and then
we do it. And I think, so what we try to do is to provide extra value, because at the end of the day, quite honestly, I am uncomfortable with asking you to pay, there is no price that we've set yet, but let's say $900 for a test, and then turn around and say the way that you act on that test is also to pay me money for my products. What we could do is to say, this is how, basically, what is a metabolomic test? It deciphers how your cells provide or process nutrients, how much nutrient that do they have, and also how do they process it in order to then act more youthfully. So basically, it deciphers their youthful function. So we do provide a score that relates to skin aging. We do, even though it's a dry blood spot, like you prick your finger, you touch so then, we tell you, hey, these are the products that are going to help you, but also you could do these other strategies. And it's only through providers, because the idea is not, if we did it, online, we cannot recommend what you should do in other cases. And it would be really to sell products. So the idea is not really to sell products, it's to empower the practitioner.
Exactly. Even though, obviously I can imagine it's not going to be like $20 a test, but you know what, for some people, like, I love science, right? And again, for many of my patients, it just, as you said, motivational, right? You'll be like, no, my skin is good. And like, they go to plastic surgery and then they're like, what really do we do to make it more glowy, right? But it's really drives, and then it's more like a game, like a sport, let's see what's going to be, I'm going to do it. And then they're more religious about doing their treatment and interventions. That's why typically, obviously, not everybody will decide to do it, but you're going to find, especially in these days, when people are like biohackers and everybody who is like really into this, they want numbers. They want not just like, Goose, and I see this, like, it sounds cool because it's methylene blue, is because it's like NMD everybody talks about. I was on this for your company too, because I've been doing an AD, years before you guys, at least I learned about you. I mean, I've seen you through other biohackers, but I'm like, come on, now you put in this NAD on your skin, how is it gonna work, right? But then I figured, like, you are not just a superficial company who just, again, trying to be trendy and get people who just whatever, getting anything that's trendy. That's why I was like, you know what, I have to have it in my practice and use it personally. So I will still, you're gonna have a decent amount of people who would be willing, and again, it's gonna be even more encouraging for them to stick to their protocols.
Exactly. I agree. And again, it's if anyone's just for those, because I think, I do want to address this. Like, if anyone is saying right now, oh my God, Amitai is telling me that I now need to spend another $900 every 6 months. I'm not telling you that. Okay. This podcast is for free, right? This podcast, we talked about today about things that you can do, that are actionable today. Exactly. However, in order to allow this free conversation and to give the, I would say, the most up-to-date free recommendation, we need to explore the entire spectrum. And most of the kind of the bleeding edge part of the spectrum is very expensive. That's the truth. Anyway, next, this is the least rapid fire questions I've ever had in my life. Okay. Okay. What's one healthy habit that might secretly be inflaming your skin?
I mean, going back to sugar, it's literally in them. If it's dietary, if you're talking about any lifestyle, I would say sleep-wise. I mean, if you're not sleeping in the right hours, in the right amount, that's just screwing up the whole system. So in terms of food, yeah, sugar, and in terms of overall lifestyle is
let me point you in a direction. What is something people literally doing? They're thinking it's healthy, like they're doing it as a healthy stack, but really is aging their skin, aging them. What do you think?
In terms of they believe it's actually healthy.
Maybe eating tuna out of a can.
I mean, yeah, in terms of
I don't know.
toxins. No, right. One of those obviously that's growing up, it's a food supply, right? And the current situation with the seafood in general, right, is besides mercury, it's arsenic. And even though you would think, again, there is not all fish is bad. It's just literally certain ones, certain kinds, because people trying to eat healthy, as you said, increasing omega levels, which are amazing for skin inflammation and overall for skin health, but they could be the source of mercury and arsenic that are worse effects of the opposite toxification, right?
Yeah. Okay, let's do one more. Okay, what's a common toxin you test for that almost everyone has and nobody realizes it, or not a lot of people realize?
I mean, it's not a lot of people, basically I would say the phthalates and older, more PBCs, whatever is related to plastic, right? I mean, nobody tested it because it's a little extra. It's urine test. It's like you have to do specialty labs, but it's just a question of how toxic you are. It's not like if you are toxic with those plastic related particles, right?
Have you seen that there's now a probiotic that's supposed to like help you detox from plastics? Have you seen that? I got targeted by...
No, I haven't.
Next time I get targeted by this ad, I'll send it to you.
Yes. Oh my God. No, absolutely didn't.
Okay, listen, Marina, this has been fantastic. I really appreciate the time that you've spent with us. And let's talk a little bit about how do people work with you? How can they reach out? How do you work normally?
Yeah, so my practice is located in Brooklyn, New York, but overall I do offer also teleconsultations, right? So then it's just going to be a few tests that you will be going. I'll send you where to go for the blood work and other like body composition tests. Overall, actually, in terms of free stuff, right? I'm very excited to announce, actually, this is the first place I'm kind of sharing this news. I'm an author. My book is coming out this month.
Wow.
The book is Harmonious Healing Blueprint. It's about biohacking. It's about regeneration and health resilience. It really gives you an idea to be like an advocate for your own health, what blood work to do. It gives a lot of information, again, tips like what to do for your energy, in terms of supplements, nutrients, food, really like our blueprint for that. Beauty, aging, and energy. Kind of three of those things are in there. And just overall, a lot of information on all aspects from their standpoint of experience, and they're in the most innovative things are mentioned there. So, and actually your brand too. So I will have to just give you probably the page number where you are guys located.
No,
and obviously you are on their beauty recommendation is one of the things you can do intervention wise. Because it hits personally. I've been using your branded things from like either January, like literally slightly under a year. I mean, it's impressive, even though, again, I had a lot of skepticism about this and the kind of using just trendy nutrients for topical things like this. You would think, as well as you said, like putting vitamin C versus eating it, or like, if it's how you're actually going to make it work for the skin, not just whatever kind of making it fun. So overall, in terms of consultations, I do offer in person or teleconversion, and I see children, adults, families, so you can find my website. I guess you're going to provide it. And
yes, we'll provide it in links, Instagram, things like that. However, this podcast is probably going to come out after your book is coming out. So we're going to make sure to add a link to the book.
Perfect. On Amazon, right?
Amazon, wherever, on Amazon. So that's going to be in the show notes. Is there a name for the book?
Harmonious Healing Blueprint.
Harmonious Healing Blueprint on Amazon. You can also obviously look for it on Amazon. Marina, thank you very much. It was such a pleasure.
Thank you. I love that. Thank you. Such a pleasure.
All right. Thank you, everyone. Bye.